Hey everybody, it's Mark Andrews with our first kickoff 2020 OCFOA Plays of the Week, episode COVID-19. Yeah, no, just episode 1. It's May 1st. Some of the states are opening up, but we don't even know if we're going to have football this year or next spring or anything. But we got to stay sharp. And Steve Coover has sent me a list of plays involving possible defensive pass interference, and I thought, what a great way to start off, So let's get into it. Okay, before we get started, I'd like to explain what Steve and I are trying to do here. We're trying to eventually put together a video casebook, and these plays of the week may eventually be converted to a casebook for DPI, and we're going to touch on all the tough calls, right? I'll let Steve explain in his own words what this is all about. So this came from San Diego. That's why you see SDCFOA foul calibration videos. Now, calibration, what Steve does is he shows these plays to his crew chiefs, and then they vote, and they only get one look at the play generally, and they vote whether, in this case, is this DPI or not. And they use that result after they show this play to all of the members to sort of show which way the crew chiefs are leaning on a decision. And I have yet to see, I think I've seen one or two that are 100% one way or the other, but a lot of these are split. And so, as Steve points out right here, remember, using one angle of the play is never the ideal. Sometimes the view may not be the best to view the action. We know this from film, right? Also, the officials in the video may or may not make the correct decision, but we're not interested in that. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing, rather, as he says, we are interested in using the play to help us improve our understanding of the rule and the philosophies that help us to apply the rule consistently, and in the best interest of the game. All right, before we start discussing whether a particular play has a pass interference foul involved, let's take a look at the different categories of a defensive pass interference. So the first category is an arm bar. Now, an arm bar is the arm across the body restricting the receiver. An arm simply out in front of the receiver or incidental contact is not enough. There's got to be a restriction of movement. Second category is hold or grab and restrict. This is typically, we see this when a defender is beat and he's just trying to keep the offensive player from scoring a touchdown or getting a long gain. They will grab and restrict. Third one is not playing the ball. Now, this one, it kind of has two different aspects. If we see a defender simply make contact with the receiver, and this typically happens just as the ball arrives, and he's not playing the ball, he's playing the receiver, well, we very well could have defensive pass interference, and depending on the severity of the contact, it could also be extensive contact on a defenseless player, right? But if they're playing the ball, if they're both going up trying to get to the same spot and there's contact, we're going to let that go because he is playing the ball, if that makes sense. Next category is playing through the back. Now, this is typically where the receiver is coming across the middle and the defender is behind him. The defender will try to get to the ball by reaching over the player, over the receiver, and typically he gets there early, slaps the ball down, and that is pass interference if he gets there early. Fifth one is a hook and a twist. Now, we see this one a lot on passes that are over the middle or slants. So we've got the defender hooking the arm around the waist or shoulders and twisting the opponent. That's important. If the arm is just simply around the body and there is no twist, then we don't have pass interference. And lastly, a cutoff. Now, a cutoff is where the defender simply puts himself in front of the offensive receiver, not allowing him to get to where he needs to be. And this can be true even if he is looking back for the ball. If he's not looking back for the ball and there's a cutoff, this is a really easy call to make. Okay. Lastly, I want to make a mention. A few years ago, face guarding was a component of defensive pass interference. That rule was changed, and face guarding is no longer in that category. It's no longer defensive pass interference. All right, let's take a look at some plays. Okay, so you can see Steve's question is DPI or not DPI, and why or why not. So you want to think about those categories we just discussed. Okay, let's watch the play. Do it in real time. Okay, so I'm not going to be as hard as Steve is on. Remember, he's doing this with his white hat, so he expects them to know. But so we're talking about these two players right here. Let's watch it in slow motion. There's contact there, but there's nothing that I would consider pass interference. Let's see what Steve has to say. Okay, so this is one of those rare ones where everybody was in agreement that this was not pass interference, no restriction from the defensive back on the receiver. He's making a play on the ball. So, hopefully you ruled that as a legal play. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, next play. So keep your eye on the players that are going to be highlighted right here. I'll run it in real time. Okay, let's rewind. Now, we've got the beginning of a restriction right there at the 40-yard line. The quarterback has released the ball. So if we judge this, now you can see the jersey tug there, then if we judge that to be a restriction, then we've got to have DPI. This is not holding. Although it's it's bang bang, it's a split second thing. I'll run it again in real time. Okay. So when Steve ran this calibration to his white hats, 20 of them, he's got a total of 41, I think, crew chiefs. 20 said there was no foul. 6 said it was holding, and 13 said DPI. I'm not sure where the other two were. Maybe they just couldn't make a choice. I got to tell you, from my viewpoint, this is a foul all day. When you see that jersey, stretch out like that, that is a restriction. And he's got him. He's definitely keeping him from where he wants to go. Yeah, the ball's there. And I think that's probably the reason that some of the white hats said, that it wasn't DPI. But in my mind, this is DPI all day. And these are some of the comments from the crew chiefs who thought it was DPI. This is DPI as there is a material restriction of the receiver starting at 35-yard line. It's exactly what I said. DB uses his right hand to grab and restrict the receiver by his jersey and shoulder pad. Okay, this is a grab and restrict. Remember our categories. And then another comment, the holding by the DB must be elevated to DPI as the holding occurs while the ball is in the air. If the holding occurred before the pass left the QB's hand and there was no other holding during the pass, then we have defensive holding by the defensive back. And you know, sometimes that's tough. You know, if you're not sure, you know, maybe get some help from your crewmates. But either way, this is a foul. All right, let's move on. Okay, before I start this play, you know, on the previous play, I said this is a foul. That's my opinion, all right? You know, I want you guys to look at this in, you know, as a crew or as an association, and you decide. Okay, if I'm the back judge on this play, I'm throwing a flag on it. But that's based on my criteria for what a foul is. Again, we're here to examine the different components, and you know, these are tough plays. This one is gonna. I mean, this one's really tough. So take a look at the guys highlighted. Keep your eye on those two. And I will run this one in slow motion several times because this one is bang bang. Okay, let's go back. All right. So you can see that wide receiver is wide open at this point. I mean, if that quarterback gets rid of the ball now, he's got a completion, but he's a little slow getting it there. Now, here comes the defensive back. He's right here. Now, he's not really playing the ball. Here comes the ball. Here comes the receiver. Bang, bang. Now, that hit is pretty high, and I would have to be there to make a judgment on excessive contact, but I tend to err on the side of protecting the players. Let's see what see what you think, and let's see what Steve's crew chief said. This is not DPI, nor is it excessive contact. Okay, 36-4 they voted. So very, very much the majority said no foul. And you know, contact is considered bang bang, and we have a philosophy: if it's bang bang, it's not. We're not good enough to judge that as DPI. I don't have a problem with that. He may have gotten there a fraction early, but bang bang, you know, save those flags. This last one, no excessive contact, as a DB does not lead with his helmet or deliver a blow in an attempt to injure the opponent. Now, guys, that's not I don't know where that comes from. That's not how we judge excessive contact. You know, we got to see a hit in the strike zone, right? We got to see a wrap, and I'm not seeing that here. But it also isn't that big of a hit. I mean, he's not rocking him. I'll do it in real time. Okay, his hands are out, so I don't have a problem with a no call here. But I also wouldn't have a problem with the excessive contact foul if you decided that it was excessive contact. All right, next play. Okay, this is another tough one. Keep your eye on the receiver. I think it's the far split. Nope, inside guy. And this defensive back. Okay, let's watch it again. Now, I think we can all agree this is early contact, right? But let's take a look at some of the other components. So he's going, the ball's already thrown. He's adjusting his his route, and I'm not sure why the ball is way beyond the receiver. Now, of course, an uncatchable ball is not a criteria. We can't use that as a criteria for not making this call. But, you know, good judgment might say, you know, that it does come into play that the ball was so far away from the receiver, this couldn't be pass interference. But this contact is ridiculous. I mean, look at that. He just flattened, you know, just like smacks him. So in San Diego, they were split pretty much half and half. The DB is playing the receiver and blocks his progress to the ball. Ball is about 2/3 of the way to the receiver when the contact is made. Because this action is so clear and obvious, it should be called DPI, early contact. And the other ones, the ones that thought it wasn't, simply said the ball was well overthrown. The receiver adjusted the route away from the ball at the last second due to the threat by the DB. I don't know how they know that. I think that's supposition, but okay. All this is solid philosophy, but is trumped by the egregious act by the DB. That last sentence, I'm sure, is Steve's comment. Okay, so I think Steve is saying, yeah, the ball's overthrown. Yeah, he changed his route, but you can't let the DB get away with that. All right, let's move on. And again, this is opinion. You guys, you know, discuss and figure out how you're going to handle situations like this. Okay, watch the receiver at the top of the screen. Now, fake, go, and the receiver's down. I think the only way you could justify not calling this is if you ruled there were tangled feet. And I think if we watch it in slow motion, okay, there's a grab. Then he throws him off. You know, maybe their feet got tangled there at the very end, but to me, this is DPI all day. We got 2 flags. Great job. Let's see what Steve says. Okay, it was 39-7 that it was DPI. And the DB obviously was beat to his inside, and the receiver had adjusted to the ball. And DB's in chase mode. This is when we see these fouls, is when they're in chase mode, and must restrict or make early contact in any manner that interferes. As they are running, the DB's hands and body cause the receiver to go down. This is not tangled feet. And so I agree with this. I would really have a problem with no call on this particular play. But again, discuss it and you know, hopefully come to the same conclusion. All right, well, this shows one of my pet peeves with camera operators. God bless them, but all you do is push a button to get these dumb photos zoom and function off the screen. All right, back to football. So keep an eye on those two, the wide receiver and the DB right over here. I'm running in real time. It's going to be a fade to the corner. Okay, let's go back. Now, notice the positioning of the two players. The receiver has the outside position, right? Now that arm right there, that he's just feeling. He's not restricting. Nothing illegal about that just yet. And the receiver slaps his hand away. Okay. Now, as it goes forward, the receiver, for whatever reason, goes inside. And, the DB has the inside position. So most of his contact is caused by the offensive receiver, in my opinion. Let's see what they say. Okay, yeah, they agree. 38-4, no DPI. Yeah, basically what I just said. So again, watch it And you know, this is a good one to break down the components of when you would call pass interference. It isn't just contact. It's how the contact is initiated. All right, moving on. Okay, here's one from Orange County, and I've got sideline and end zone view. See a quarterback scrambling and long pass. Now that defender is beat solidly, but the ball is slightly underthrown. Let's take a look at it from this angle. Okay. Now take a minute and let's run this slow motion. Now, oops. That defender has no idea where the ball is, right? He is playing the receiver only. He's trying to figure out where he's going. Once that receiver starts to cut to the sideline and come back, he simply gets in his way, cuts him off. This is early contact, and I guess you could call it a cutoff. I'm not sure why this wasn't called DPI. It may be because of the angle. You can see the back judge is a little bit straight lined there, but no attempt at all to play the ball. And so the level of our what we'll let them get away with, and when I say them, the defense, it goes way down. Yeah, in my opinion, this is pass interference. Now, you can see the flank official not too far away, but we have a tendency to rely on the back judge for this kind of play. If that flank official felt that was pass interference, he should throw his flag. If they want to get together and the back judge talk him out of it, fine. But I think there definitely should have been a flag on this play. All right, let's move on. Okay, keep an eye on the receivers that are highlighted. This play is pretty dang obvious. It's a classic grab and restrict, but I wanted to show it to you for a couple of reasons. Okay, this is the crew. They evaluating themselves. Likes the footwork, likes the positioning of the back judge, but there's no flag, and this guy from right there has got a big old handful of jersey. The back judge has to be able to see that, and I never want to see us not throw a flag because another official throws a flag. You don't assume that official is calling DPI. He might be calling something else. Who knows? If you see DPI, throw the flag. If both flags are for the same thing, great. If they're for two different things, we could have offsetting penalties. The coach might have to make a decision on something. So don't ever do this. Don't ever assume that the flag thrown by the other official is for the foul that you saw. Okay? But this is definitely something. We can't tell when the quarterback throws it. This could be just holding, but it's definitely something. All right, moving on. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the OCFOA Plays of the Week. Hey, a big shout out to Steve Coover and all the work he's doing down there. Obviously, I'm leveraging a lot of what he does to get it out to you guys on YouTube. He does such good work. You know, we're in the middle of this coronavirus pandemic. We don't even know if we're going to have a season, or maybe our season is going to start in November, December, or springtime. Who knows? But I thought a little football might make you smile. Anyway, hey, if you please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can do so by clicking on my picture in the right hand side there, and then that'll take you to my YouTube page. Just click on subscribe. You can also hit like. Now I'm going to be creating a playlist for this year 2020 plays of the week, and that link is on the left. But obviously for right now this will be the only video that's in that playlist, but I will always refer to that playlist at the end of every one of my videos so you have access to it. All right, this is Mark Andrews signing off.